My name is Sarah Mitchell. I'm 50 years old, living in Portland, Oregon, where I work as a high school guidance counselor at Lincoln High School. I've spent the last 23 years helping teenagers navigate the turbulent waters of adolescence, college applications, and family problems. I never imagined that my own family crisis would unfold so quietly, so insidiously, that I wouldn't see it coming until it was staring me in the face through a credit card statement. It was a Tuesday in March when I first noticed something was off. I had stopped by Mom and Dad's house in Northeast Portland, the same craftsman-style home where I grew up, with the creaky front porch and the magnolia tree Dad planted the year I was born. I'd come by to drop off some groceries, as I did every week. Mom was in the kitchen, organizing her bills at the old oak table that had witnessed countless family dinners, homework sessions, and heart-to-heart conversations. "How are you doing, Mom?" I asked, setting the grocery bags on the counter. "Oh, fine, honey. Just going through these bills," she said, her reading glasses perched on her nose. Eleanor Mitchell, my mother, had always been the picture of organization. She was 76 years old, a retired elementary school teacher who had spent 35 years shaping young minds. Even in retirement, she kept detailed records, balanced her checkbook to the penny, and never missed a payment. I glanced at the statement she was reviewing. Credit card bill? Yes, just the usual. About $100 this month. She smiled at me, that warm smile that had comforted me through scraped knees, teenage heartbreaks, and adult anxieties. I thought nothing of it. $100 seemed perfectly reasonable. Mom and Dad lived modestly, dinner out once a week, the occasional purchase at Macy's, Gardery's supplies for Dad's beloved vegetable garden. But that was March. April's statement was different. I wasn't there when it arrived, but Dad mentioned it over the phone. "Your mother's credit card bill was a bit higher this month," he said casually. "About $500. She says she bought some things for the house." "What kind of things?" I asked, only mildly curious. "Kitchen items, I think. Some towels. I don't really pay attention to that stuff, you know." Dad had always left the household management to Mom. He was a retired civil engineer, brilliant with bridges and structures, less interested in the domestic details. After 52 years of marriage, they had their rhythms, their separate domains. "That's fine, Dad, as long as she's not going crazy," I joked. By May, the bill had climbed to $1,200. This time, I was there when Mom opened it. I watched her face carefully, looking for any reaction, any sign of concern. She frowned slightly, adjusted her glasses, and set it aside. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Oh, yes. I must have bought a few more things than usual. You know how it is." Her tone was light, dismissive even. But something in my gut twisted. Mom had never been a casual spender. She was the woman who clipped coupons, who waited for sales, who made her winter coat last 15 years because it still works perfectly fine. "What did you buy?" I pressed gently. She paused, her eyes going distant for a moment. "Oh, just things for the house. Some clothes, I think. I don't remember exactly." That phrase, "I don't remember exactly," should have been my first real warning. But I was busy. It was the end of the school year, the most hectic time for a guidance counselor. Seniors were finalizing college decisions, juniors were panicking about SATs. And I was drowning in paperwork and parent meetings. I let it go. June came and went. I didn't see the credit card statement that month. I was preoccupied with my own daughter Emma's college graduation from Reed College, with planning the party, with crying proud tears as she walked across the stage to receive her degree in environmental science. July was quiet. I took a week off work, rare for me, and went on a road trip with my husband Mark to the Oregon coast. We stayed in a little bed and breakfast in Cannon Beach. Walked on the sand, and remembered what it felt like to be just the two of us. Before kids, before mortgages, before the relentless march of time. When we got back, I called Mom to tell her about the trip. "That sounds lovely, dear," she said. But her voice sounded thin, strained. "Are you okay, Mom?" "Oh yes, just tired. Your father and I are fine." But we weren't fine. None of us were. I just didn't know it yet. It was a Friday in early August when everything changed. I remember because it was an unusually hot day for Portland. The kind of heat that makes the city slow down and seek shade. I had just finished a summer counseling session with a student. When my phone rang, Dad's name flashed on the screen. "Sarah, we need you to come over." His voice was tight, controlled the voice he used when he was trying very hard not to panic. "What's wrong? Is Mom okay? Just come over, please." I grabbed my keys and drove the 15 minutes to their house. Faster than I should have, my mind racing through possibilities. A fall, a health crisis, a fire. Anything but what it actually was. Dad met me at the door, holding an envelope. His hand was shaking. "What is it, Dad?" He handed me the envelope without a word. Inside was a credit card statement. The balance due was $10,847.32. I stared at the number, convinced it was a mistake. It had to be a mistake. But as I scanned the pages of itemized charges, I saw the truth laid out in merciless detail. QVC purchases $3,200. Multiple orders of jewelry, kitchen gadgets, decorative items. Amazon charges $2,800. Books, electronics, household items, many duplicates. Home shopping network $1,900. Collectibles, clothing, beauty products. Department store charges $1,500. Dillard's, Nordstrom, Macy's. And dozens of smaller purchases. Restaurants Mom swore she'd never been to, online subscriptions she'd never signed up for, services she'd never authorized. "Where's Mom?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "In the bedroom. She's upset." I found her sitting on the edge of the bed she'd shared with my father for over 5 decades. Her hands folded in her lap, staring at nothing. When she looked up at me, I saw something in her eyes I'd never seen before, genuine confusion mixed with fear. "Mom." I sat down beside her, taking her hands in mine. They felt small, fragile. When had my mother become so small? "Mom, we need to talk about the credit card bill. It's a mistake." Her voice was firm, but I could hear the tremor underneath. "I didn't buy all those things. The credit card company made an error. Mom, there are charges here going back months. Hundreds of transactions. I know what I did and didn't do, Sarah. I would remember if I spent that kind of money." The conviction in her voice stopped me. This wasn't denial in the way I understood it. This was something else. Something worse. "Okay," I said softly. "Let's call the credit card company together and sort this out." We spent 2 hours on the phone with customer service, going through charges one by one. The representative was patient, pulling up tracking numbers, delivery confirmations, even the IP address of the computer used to make online purchases. Mom and Dad's home address. "Mrs. Mitchell," the representative said gently, "all of these purchases were made either from your home computer or by phone using your credit card number. Many of them show delivery confirmations to your address." Mom's face had gone pale. "But I don't remember. I don't remember any of this." After we hung up, I made a decision. "Mom, can I look around the house?" "What for?" "Just let me look, please." What I found made my stomach drop. In the spare bedroom, my old room, there were boxes. Dozens of them. Some opened, some still sealed with packing tape. QVC labels. Amazon Prime logos. HSN stickers. I opened one box. Inside were 3 identical electric can openers, still in their packaging. Another box, 5 sets of costume jewelry, none of which I'd ever seen Mom wear. A third, books, mysteries mostly. Mom's favorite genre, but duplicates of titles she already owned. I knew because I could see the same books on her bedroom bookshelf. In the closet, 7 nearly identical cardigan sweaters. In various shades of blue, tags still attached. Under the bed, 4 new toasters, unopened. I stood in the middle of that room, surrounded by the evidence of something I couldn't yet name, and felt my throat tighten with tears. Sarah? Mom had followed me upstairs. She stood in the doorway, looking at the boxes as if seeing them for the first time. What is all this? Mom, these are things you ordered. They were delivered here. They're all addressed to you. She shook her head slowly, her hand going to her mouth. No, I would remember. I would remember buying these things. And that's when I knew. That's when the terrible truth settled over me like a cold fog. My mother wasn't lying. She genuinely didn't remember. I didn't go back to work the following week. I called in and took emergency family leave. Something I'd never done in 23 years of employment. My principal, a kind woman named Chen, who'd known me for over a decade, didn't ask questions. Take the time you need, Sarah. Family comes first. I told Mark what I'd found. We sat on our back deck that evening, the summer twilight, stretching long across our yard, and I laid it all out for him. I think something's wrong with Mom. Really wrong. Mark, my husband of 28 years, was a pediatrician. He was a man of science, of careful observation and measured response. What do you think it is? I said the word I'd been avoiding all week. Dementia. He was quiet for a long moment. Sarah, you should talk to your siblings. And you need to observe her more carefully before jumping to conclusions. He was right. I called my brother James that night. He was 53, the eldest of us 3 Mitchell children, living in Boston, where he worked as an architect. We'd always been close, despite the 3,000 miles between us. James, I think something's wrong with Mom. I told him everything: the credit card bills, the boxes of duplicate purchases, the confusion, the denial. Jesus, he breathed. Have you told Rachel? Rachel was our baby sister, 47, living in Sacramento with her wife Michelle and their 2 adopted children. She was a nurse practitioner, and I knew I needed her medical expertise. I'm calling her next. By midnight, we had a group text thread going. Rachel was the first to voice what we were all thinking. This sounds like cognitive decline. Maybe Alzheimer's or another form of dementia. We need to get her evaluated ASAP. James responded, I can fly out next weekend. We need to present a united front. And so began the most difficult period of observation I've ever experienced. For 2 weeks, I became a spy in my mother's life. I started visiting every day, sometimes twice a day, always with an excuse. I was in the neighborhood. I brought lunch. I thought we could go for a walk. What I saw broke my heart piece by piece. On Tuesday, I arrived at 10 a.m. and found Mom on the phone with QVC. She was ordering a set of cookware, her credit card in hand, speaking pleasantly with the sales representative. When she hung up, I asked her what she'd bought. Oh, I didn't buy anything. I was just looking at their website. Mom, you were on the phone just now. She looked at me, puzzled. Was I? On Wednesday, I came by in the evening. Dad was in the garage, working on some project. Mom was in the living room, surrounded by the mail-order catalogs that seemed to arrive daily. She had her laptop open, and I could see she was on the Home Shopping Network website, items already loaded in her cart. Mom, what are you doing? She jumped slightly, guilty looking. Just browsing, honey. Are you planning to buy those things? No, just looking. But I watched her. Over the next 20 minutes, she clicked through the purchase process. entered her credit card information, and completed the order. Then, not 5 minutes later, she closed the laptop and stood up. I think I'll make some tea. Would you like some, Sarah? Mom, you just bought something online. She looked at me blankly. I did? Yes. Just now. I watched you do it. Her face flushed with anger and emotion I'd rarely seen from my gentle mother. Why are you spying on me? I didn't buy anything. On Thursday, I went grocery shopping with her. Dad had asked me to go along because, he said, Mom had been coming home with strange combinations of items and forgetting essential things they actually needed. At the store, I watched her put 3 gallons of milk in the cart. Mom, you have milk at home. Do I? Yes. I saw it in your fridge yesterday. Well, we go through it quickly. But I knew they didn't. When we got back to the house and I checked the refrigerator, there were already 2 gallons there. One of them nearly full, the other unopened. Both were approaching their expiration date. On Friday, the new cookware arrived, the set Mom had ordered on Tuesday. The order she didn't remember placing. I was there when the UPS driver knocked on the door. Oh good, a delivery. Mom said, signing for the package with a smile. What did you order? I asked. She looked at the box, genuinely puzzled. I didn't order anything. I opened the box with her. Inside was a 14-piece cookware set. Gleaming copper-bottomed pots and pans. Mom, you have cookware. You've had the same set for 20 years. She stared at the pots, her hands trembling slightly. I don't remember ordering these. You did. On Tuesday. I was here. And then she started crying. Not the gentle tears of sadness, but deep, wrenching sobs that came from somewhere primal and terrified. I don't understand what's happening to me, Sarah. I don't understand why I can't remember things. Your father keeps telling me I did things, said things, bought things, and I have no memory of any of it. Am I going crazy? I held her while she cried, this woman, who had held me through every crisis of my life. My strong, capable, organized mother was disappearing, and I couldn't stop it. James flew in the following Friday. And Rachel drove up on Saturday morning with Michelle and the kids. We sent the kids to stay with Emma. My daughter was happy to host her young cousins for the weekend, and the adult Mitchell children gathered at our parents' house. Dad looked exhausted. I realized I'd been so focused on Mom that I hadn't fully registered the toll this was taking on him. How long has this been going on, Dad? James asked gently. Dad ran a hand through his thinning gray hair. I'm not sure. Looking back now, I think maybe 6 months? 8? At first, it was little things. She'd tell me the same story twice in one day. She'd forget she'd already been to the store. But I thought it was just normal aging, you know? She's 76. I'm 79. We all forget things sometimes. When did it escalate? Rachel asked. She had her professional nurse face on, compassionate but clinical. Maybe 3 months ago? She started getting defensive when I'd point out she'd forgotten something. Then the packages started arriving. At first, just 1 or 2. I thought she was treating herself. But then it became constant. Every day, sometimes multiple deliveries. I'd ask her about them. And she'd either deny ordering anything or get angry that I was questioning her. Why didn't you call us sooner? James asked, and I heard the hurt in his voice. Dad's eyes filled with tears. Because saying it out loud made it real. And I wasn't ready for it to be real. We spent that afternoon with Mom, trying to talk to her about our concerns. It went about as well as could be expected. I'm fine, she insisted. You're all overreacting. Mom, Rachel said carefully, you've spent over $10,000 in the last few months. On things you don't remember buying. That's not normal. The credit card company made a mistake. Mom, the packages are in your house. Sarah found them. Well, maybe I bought a few things and forgot. That happens to everyone. Not to this extent, James said. The conversation went in circles for over an hour until Mom, frustrated and frightened, retreated to her bedroom. Dad looked at us with desperate eyes. What do we do? Rachel pulled out her phone. I'm calling her primary care doctor. We need to get her in for a cognitive assessment as soon as possible. Dr. Patricia Okonkwo had been Mom's doctor for 15 years. She was a sharp, compassionate woman in her 50s, who took Rachel's call seriously. Bring her in Monday morning. I'll fit her in. The appointment did not go smoothly. Mom refused to go. I'm not sick. I don't need a doctor. It took all four of us, Dad, James, Rachel, and me, to convince her. And even then, it was only because we threatened to take away her credit cards if she didn't cooperate. Fine, she snapped. I'll go to the doctor and prove there's nothing wrong with me. Dr. Okonkwo conducted a thorough examination. She started with physical health, blood pressure, heart rate, basic blood work. Then came the cognitive tests. The mini mental state examination. The Montreal cognitive assessment. Clock drawing tests. Memory recall exercises. Following multi-step instructions. I sat in the corner of the exam room, my heart breaking a little more with each question Mom struggled to answer. What year is it? 2024. It was 2025. What month? A long pause. July? It was August. Can you draw a clock showing 10:45? Mom drew a circle and numbers. But they were unevenly spaced, and the hands pointed in wrong directions. Remember these 3 words: apple, table, penny. I'll ask you to recall them in a few minutes. 3 minutes later, can you tell me those 3 words? Apple, and, I'm sorry, what was the question? After 90 minutes, drive. Okonkwo sat down across from Mom and took her hands. Eleanor, I'm concerned about what I'm seeing. Your scores on the cognitive tests suggest significant impairment. I want to refer you to a neurologist for more comprehensive testing, including brain imaging. Mom's face crumpled. What are you saying? I'm saying that what you're experiencing, the memory loss, the confusion, the inability to remember recent purchases, these aren't normal signs of aging. They're symptoms of cognitive decline, possibly dementia. The word hung in the air like a death sentence. No, Mom whispered. No, I'm fine. I'm just tired. I've been stressed. Dr. Okonkwo's voice was gentle but firm. Eleanor, the sooner we get a proper diagnosis, the sooner we can discuss treatment options and support strategies. There are medications that can help slow the progression in the early stages. The referral to Dr. Michael Chen, a neurologist specializing in memory disorders, was expedited. We got an appointment for the following week. The brain MRI showed moderate cerebral atrophy, particularly in the hippocampus and temporal lobes. The neuropsychological evaluation took 4 hours and confirmed what we'd all been fearing. Early-stage dementia, likely Alzheimer's disease, though drive. Chen noted it could be a mixed dementia or another variant. The definitive diagnosis would require time and continued monitoring. The good news, if we can call it that, Dr. Chen said to our family gathered in his office, is that we've caught it relatively early. Eleanor is a good candidate for medications like donepezil, which can help manage symptoms. But I need to be honest with you, this is a progressive condition. It will get worse. The timeline varies from person to person. But you need to start planning now for future care needs. Mom sat through this consultation in silence, Dad holding her hand. When we got to the car, she finally spoke. I'm scared. We all were. The next few weeks were a blur of difficult conversations, legal arrangements, and practical adjustments. James extended his stay in Portland by 2 weeks, working remotely from Mom and Dad's house. Rachel came up every weekend. Together, we began the process of restructuring our parents' lives. The first priority was financial security. I met with their bank manager. armed with medical documentation and a power of attorney that Dad had already held, thankfully. They'd set up their legal documents years ago. We canceled all of Mom's credit cards except one, which we set with a $200 monthly limit, set up automatic payments for all their bills, created a separate checking account for daily expenses, with a debit card that had daily withdrawal limits, changed all online shopping passwords, removed saved credit card information from every website, signed up for credit monitoring to catch any new fraudulent activity. The credit card company, surprisingly, was understanding. Given the medical diagnosis, they agreed to forgive a portion of the debt, about $4,000, and set up a payment plan for the rest. Small miracle. We then turned to the house itself. Those boxes of duplicate purchases? We spent 3 days cataloging everything, returning what we could, and donating the rest. The local women's shelter got 14 boxes of useful household items. A local charity got the clothing. We kept a few things Mom actually might use. James worked with a tech-savvy friend to set up parental controls on the home computer and tablet, blocking shopping sites and TV shopping channels. We felt guilty about it infantilizing our own mother, but it was necessary. Rachel sat down with Mom's extensive medication list and created a pill organizer system with alarms. She also worked with Dr. Chen to start Mom on donepezil, and created a symptom journal for tracking changes. And I became the family coordinator, the one who made sure everyone knew what was happening, who scheduled appointments, who called every day to check in. But the hardest conversation was yet to come. 2 weeks after the diagnosis, when the initial crisis management was done, we all sat down with Mom again. This time, she was calmer, more present. Dr. Chen had mentioned that dementia symptoms could fluctuate. There would be good days and bad days. This was a good day. Mom, I started, we need to talk about what happens now. She nodded slowly. I know. I've been thinking about it. On the days when my head is clear, I understand what's happening to me. And it terrifies me. Dad squeezed her hand. You're not alone in this, Ellie. I know. But I also know what this disease does. I saw my own mother go through it. My grandmother had died of Alzheimer's when I was in college. I don't want that for you, for our children. I don't want you to watch me disappear. We're not going anywhere, James said firmly. We're family. We take care of each other. Rachel pulled out a folder. We've put together a care plan. It's comprehensive but flexible. The goal is to keep you and Dad safe and comfortable while maintaining as much independence as possible. The plan included daily check-ins from one of us, rotating responsibilities, a home health aide coming 3 times a week for a few hours, adult daycare 2 days a week, which Mom immediately rejected, but we left it on the table for future consideration. Installation of simple safety measures: automatic shut-off for the stove, labels on cabinets and drawers, a lock box for medications, a medical alert system for both Mom and Dad, regular family meetings to assess needs and adjust the plan. I also think, I added carefully, that you should consider giving up driving soon. Mom's eyes flashed with that familiar stubborn spark. I can still drive perfectly well. For now, maybe. But Mom, what happens if you forget where you're going while you're behind the wheel? Or if you can't remember how to get home? She was quiet for a long moment. Not yet. Please. Driving is. It's my last bit of freedom. We compromised. She could keep driving for now, but only during the day. Only to familiar places, and Dad had to assess her ability regularly. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. The months that followed established our new reality. I cut back my hours at work, taking on a part-time schedule. My principal was accommodating her own mother. Had gone through something similar. Mark supported the decision, even though it meant a significant reduction in our household income. Your mom took care of you for 50 years, he said. Now it's your turn. Emma, who'd been job hunting after graduation, decided to move in with her grandparents as a live-in companion. She paid minimal rent and had the whole upstairs to herself. In exchange, she was there every evening and overnight, providing an extra layer of security and companionship. Grandma helped raise me, she told me when she made the decision. I want to do this. James came out every 6 weeks for long weekends. He'd work from the Portland office of his firm and spend evenings with Mom and Dad. He handled the legal and financial complexities, making sure everything was properly documented and protected. Rachel coordinated the medical side, attending doctor appointments virtually when she couldn't be there in person, managing medications, and providing medical expertise when questions arose. Dad, meanwhile, was both rock and breaking point. He'd been married to my mother for 52 years. Watching her decline was destroying him in ways he tried to hide but couldn't. I found him crying in the garage one afternoon. Dad? He wiped his eyes quickly. I'm fine, Sarah. No, you're not. And that's okay. He broke then, really broke, the way I'd only seen him cry once before at his own mother's funeral. I'm losing her. She's right there, but I'm losing her. Some days she looks at me and I can see she's not quite sure who I am. We've been together for more than half a century, and there are moments when she doesn't recognize me. I held my father while he grieved for the wife, who was still alive but slowly disappearing. We got Dad into a support group for spouses of dementia patients. He resisted at first but eventually found comfort in sharing his experience with others who understood. Dementia is not linear. That's what we learned. Some days, Mom was remarkably lucid. She'd remember conversations, crack jokes, talk about current events with perfect clarity. On those days, it was easy to convince ourselves that maybe the diagnosis was wrong. Maybe she was getting better. But then there were the other days. The day she called me 3 times in an hour, asking the same question, when is my hair appointment? The day she forgot how to work the coffee maker she'd been using for 20 years. The day she got angry at Dad for moving all her things when he hadn't touched anything. The day she insisted she needed to pick me up from school because I'd be waiting for her. I was 50 years old. I hadn't attended that school in over 30 years. The day she didn't remember James's name, introducing him to a neighbor as one of my children. The day she found an old photo album and couldn't identify herself in the wedding pictures. Each incident was a small death, a little loss. We mourned them quietly, these disappearing pieces of Eleanor Mitchell. But there were also unexpected gifts. Mom started painting again, something she'd loved in her youth, but hadn't done in decades. The dementia seemed to have unlocked something creative and uninhibited. Her abstract paintings were surprisingly beautiful. Emma helped her set up a small studio in the spare room. She laughed more, uninhibited and childlike. Dark humor had never been her style before, but now she'd crack jokes that had us all doubled over. She was more affectionate, constantly hugging us, telling us she loved us. The social filters had softened, leaving only the warmth underneath. And on the very best days, she'd have moments of profound clarity. She'd look at us gathered around their dining table and say, "I'm so lucky. I have all of you. Even with this terrible disease, I'm lucky. It's been a year since that first $10,000 credit card bill. I'm now 51. Mom is 77. The disease has progressed, as we knew it would. She no longer handles any finances. She stopped driving 6 months ago after a frightening incident where she forgot where she was going and ended up 30 miles from home before calling Dad in a panic. She needs help with some daily tasks now: organizing her clothes, managing her medications, following complex instructions. The home health aide, a wonderful woman named Patricia, comes 5 days a week. Emma has become indispensable, not just as a safety monitor, but as a genuine companion to her grandmother. They watch old movies together, work on puzzles, take gentle walks around the neighborhood. Dad has found a balance between caregiver and husband, though it's fragile. We watch him carefully, knowing that caregiver burnout is real and dangerous. James has structured his work to allow for more frequent trips to Portland. He's become the family project manager, keeping us all organized and on track. Rachel recently announced she's considering relocating to Portland. Michelle has family here, and the kids are at an age where moving is possible. It would mean an enormous shift in their lives, but she wants to be closer. In me, I've learned to live in the present with my mother. Not the mother she was, that accomplished teacher, that organized homemaker, that sharp-minded woman who could quote Shakespeare and balance a checkbook in her head. But the mother she is now, softer, more vulnerable, sometimes confused. Often frustrated, but still capable of love, still present in her way. Last week, on one of her clearer days, she pulled me aside. "Sarah, I want to thank you." "For what, Mom?" "For not giving up on me. For not putting me away somewhere. For letting me stay in my home with your father. I know it's hard. I know I'm difficult. But I'm still me, even if I can't always remember who that is." I held her hand, feeling the papery softness of her skin. Seeing the age spots and slight tremor that hadn't been there a few years ago. "You're my mother. You took care of me. Now I take care of you. That's how it works. Not everyone does it," she said softly. "Not everyone stays. Well, we're not everyone. We're the Mitchells. And we're stubborn as hell." She laughed at that, a real laugh, and for just a moment, I saw my mother. As she used to be, bright-eyed and full of life. I won't lie and say this journey has made us stronger. Or that there's some silver lining that makes it all worth it. Dementia is cruel. It steals slowly, bit by bit, until the person you loved is more memory than reality. But what I can say is this: we're doing it together. The Mitchell family has always been a team. And this challenge has only reinforced that. We've learned patience we didn't know we had. We've learned to celebrate small victories: a good day, a clear conversation, a genuine laugh. We've learned that love persists even when memory fades. We've learned that caretaking is both the hardest and most meaningful thing you can do for someone you love. And we've learned that dementia doesn't just affect the person who has it. It ripples through the entire family, changing everyone it touches. I look at my daughter Emma, giving up her early 20s to care for her grandmother. And I'm both heartbroken and proud. I see my father, loving my mother through this impossible transition. And I understand marriage in a way I never did before. I watch my siblings drop everything to show up, again and again. And I'm grateful for family in a profound way. Dr. Chen told us early on that we were likely looking at 7 to 10 years from diagnosis to end stage. We're 1 year in, 6 to 9 more to go, probably less if we're being realistic. I don't know what the next years will bring. I know the disease will progress. I know there will come a day when Mom doesn't know who I am. I know there will be harder decisions ahead about care facilities, about quality of life, about when to let go. But today, right now, she's still here. Still Mom, even if that means something different than it used to. We take it one day at a time. One memory at a time. One moment at a time. And we hold on to each other, the Mitchell family, bound by love and stubbornness. And the determination to see this through together. Mom gave me everything: life, love, education, support, wisdom. She was there for every milestone, every crisis, every triumph and failure of my first 50 years. Now it's my turn to be there for her, even as she slowly forgets who I am. That's what family does. That's what love means. And that credit card bill that started this whole crisis? In a strange way, I'm grateful for it. Without that $10,000 shock, we might not have caught the dementia so early. We might have lost precious time. So here we are, the Mitchell family, navigating uncharted waters together. It's not the life any of us would have chosen, but it's the life we have. And we're determined to fill it with as much love, dignity, and grace as we possibly can. For Mom, for Dad, for all of us. It's the small moments that sustain us now. I've learned to treasure them in ways I never would have before. Last Tuesday, I brought Mom her favorite pastries from the bakery. She used to take me to when I was a child. When I walked in, she was sitting in her chair by the window, the morning light, catching the silver in her hair. "Oh, Sarah, you brought bear claws." Her face lit up with genuine delight. "I did. I remembered they were your favorite." She took a bite and closed her eyes. "Your grandmother used to make these from scratch. Did I ever tell you that?" She had, many times. But I shook my head. "Tell me again." And she did, weaving the story with enough detail that I could almost smell. My grandmother's kitchen, could almost see the flour dusting the countertops. In that moment, she was perfectly present, perfectly herself. The story ended, and she looked at me with clear eyes. "I'm not going to be able to tell you this story much longer, am I?" The question caught me off guard. "Mom, it's okay. I know what's happening. On the good days, I know." She reached for my hand. "That's why I need to tell you things now, while I still can." "What things?" "That I'm proud of you. That watching you become the woman you are has been one of the greatest joys of my life. That I couldn't have asked for a better daughter." She paused. "And that when the time comes when I don't know you anymore, I want you to know it's not because I stopped loving you. The love is still there. I just won't be able to find the words for it." I couldn't stop the tears. "I know, Mom. I know. And Sarah? When it gets really bad, when I'm not me anymore, don't feel guilty about whatever decisions you need to make. Quality of life over quantity. Promise me." I promise. We sat there together, eating bear claws and not talking, and it was perfect. One thing we learned quickly: we couldn't do this alone. The myth of the self-sufficient family handling everything internally is exactly that, a myth. We built a support network that became our lifeline. There's Patricia, the home health aide, who has become part of the family. She's a woman in her 40s from Nigeria, with infinite patience and a wonderful sense of humor. She can coax Mom into showering when the rest of us have failed. She knows exactly how to redirect when Mom gets anxious or confused. And she's not afraid to tell us when we're doing something wrong. "You need to stop correcting her," she told me one day. "When she tells you the same story for the third time, just listen. When she thinks it's 1985, let her live in 1985 for a while. Reality orientation doesn't work with dementia. You're just causing her distress." She was right. We'd been so focused on keeping Mom tethered to the present that we were making things harder. Once we learned to enter her reality, instead of forcing her into ours, everyone was happier. There's the support group I joined specifically for adult children of parents with dementia. Meeting every other Wednesday in the basement of a community center, 8 of us share stories, tears, frustrations, and survival strategies. Martha, whose mother is in late stage Alzheimer's, gives me glimpses of what's coming. She's both warning and inspiration, exhausted, but still showing up, still finding moments of grace in the horror. David, whose father was recently diagnosed, is where I was a year ago, shell-shocked and trying to figure out how to navigate the medical system, the legal system, the emotional devastation. We're all just trying to survive this, together. There's also Drive. Helen Morrison, a therapist who specializes in family systems, dealing with chronic illness. James found her. We all see her separately and together, processing the grief, guilt, anger, and exhaustion that comes with this journey. You're grieving someone who's still alive. She explained in one of our family sessions. That's called ambiguous loss, and it's particularly difficult. Because there's no clear endpoint, no ritual, no closure. You're losing your mother in slow motion. Having a name for it helped somehow. And there's the online community forums. Facebook groups, Reddit threads full of people going through the exact same thing. At 2 a.m. when I can't sleep, worried about mom. I can post a question and have 5 responses within minutes from people who understand. We've also learned to accept help from friends and neighbors. Mrs. Chen next door brings soup weekly. Mom's former teaching colleagues take turns visiting, bringing photos and stories from the old days that sometimes spark recognition. Our church community has been invaluable prayer chains, meal trains, respite care volunteers. It takes a village to support a family dealing with dementia. We're lucky to have found ours. Beyond the emotional weight, there are countless practical challenges we navigate daily. The medication regimen has become complex. Mom takes donepezil for the dementia, but also blood pressure medication, thyroid medication, vitamins, and supplements. Getting her to take them consistently is a daily battle. The pill organizer helps, but she sometimes forgets she's taken them and tries to take them again. Or insists she hasn't taken them when she has. We installed a timed automatic pill dispenser that beeps when it's medication time and dispenses the correct dose. It was expensive, $300, but worth every penny for the peace of mind. The house has been modified in dozens of small ways. Labels on every cabinet and drawer with both words and pictures. Night lights in every room. Grab bars in the bathroom. A lock on the basement door after a scary incident where Mom started down the stairs and couldn't remember how to navigate them. We removed mirrors in a couple of rooms because Mom was having trouble recognizing her own reflection and would get agitated, thinking there was a stranger in the house. The kitchen stove is now on a timer that automatically shuts off after 30 minutes. After Mom left a pot boiling dry and nearly started a fire. We couldn't take the risk. There's a GPS tracker in Mom's purse and another in her shoe. Even though she's no longer driving. Dementia patients are notorious for wandering, and we wanted to be prepared. Financial management continues to be complex. We're paying for the home health aide, adult daycare, which Mom finally agreed to try and actually enjoys, medications, medical appointments, home modifications, and countless other expenses. Dad's pension and their Social Security cover most of it. But we've had to dip into their savings. We're all contributing what we can. James has been researching long-term care insurance and Medicaid planning. We need to think ahead, he says. If Mom needs memory care facility eventually, it's $7,000 to $10,000 a month. We need to protect Dad's financial security. These conversations are brutal. We're planning for a future where Mom isn't living at home anymore, where she needs institutional care, where Dad is alone. But they're necessary. If Mom is the patient, Dad is the invisible victim. He's aged 5 years in the past 12 months. He's lost weight. His hands shake more than they used to. He has dark circles under his eyes that never quite go away. Despite our efforts to give him breaks, he's with Mom almost 247. And it's killing him. I made a vow, he told me once. In sickness and in health. I'm not abandoning her now. No one's asking you to abandon her, Dad. But you have to take care of yourself too. How can I go play golf or meet friends for lunch when she's sitting at home confused and scared? The guilt is eating him alive. Survivor's guilt, caregiver guilt. The guilt of sometimes wishing for it to be over. Dr. Morrison explained it to him. Eleanor has a team of people helping care for her. You have just as much right to support and respite. If you burn out, you won't be able to care for her at all. We finally convinced him to try adult daycare, not for Mom, but for him. 2 days a week, Mom goes to a program designed for dementia patients. She does art projects, listens to music, socializes with others dealing with similar challenges, and Dad gets 6 hours to himself. The first time we took her, he cried the whole drive home. I feel like I'm abandoning her. You're not, I said firmly. You're ensuring you'll be healthy enough to care for her for the long haul. This is strategic, not selfish. He's slowly learning to accept it. He uses those hours to see his own doctor, meet up with old friends, work on his woodworking projects in the garage, or simply nap. The difference those 6 hours make is visible. We also got him into couples counseling with a therapist who specializes in dementia care. Even though Mom can't fully participate, having a mediator helps when they fight, which happens more frequently now. Mom gets frustrated with her limitations and takes it out on Dad. Dad gets exhausted and short-tempered and snaps at Mom. Then they both feel terrible. The counselor gives them tools, de-escalation techniques, communication strategies, ways to maintain intimacy and connection even as the disease progresses. Your marriage is changing, the counselor told them. It's becoming something different than it was. That's not failure. That's adaptation. Last month, I found Dad in the living room late at night, watching their wedding video. The young couple on the screen, Dad at 27, Mom at 24, were so impossibly young, so full of hope and dreams. We had a good run, he said softly. 52 years. That's more than most people get. You still have her, Dad. Do I? He looked at me with hollowed-out eyes. I have someone who looks like her, who sometimes sounds like her. But the Eleanor I married, the one who knew me better than I knew myself? She's already gone. I had no answer for that because he was right. My daughter Emma has surprised me throughout this process. At 23, she should be focused on launching her career, dating, traveling, living the kind of carefree life that belongs to your early 20s. Instead, she's measuring out medications and helping her grandmother get dressed. Don't you resent this? I asked her once. Sometimes, she admitted. Sometimes I see my college friends posting pictures from Europe or starting cool jobs in San Francisco. And I wonder what I'm doing. But then Grandma and I have a good day. We made cookies yesterday. And she was completely present, telling me stories about when you were my age, and I remember why I'm here. She paused. Grandma helped raise me, Mom. When you and Dad were both working, who picked me up from school? Who helped me with my homework? Who came to every single one of my soccer games? I had 2 working parents, and I never felt neglected because Grandma filled those gaps. That was different. You were a child. Love doesn't have an age limit. She loved me when I needed it. Now I love her when she needs it. But I watch her carefully, worried about the toll it takes. She's dating someone, a graduate student named Marcus, who studies environmental policy, but the relationship is complicated by her living situation. It's hard to have a normal young adult relationship when you're living with your grandparents and responsible for someone with dementia. Marcus understands, she assures me. But I see the strain sometimes. I've made her promise to tell me if it becomes too much. If she needs to move out and reclaim her life. She's young. She has time to help her grandmother later in her career. She doesn't need to sacrifice her 20s. But she's stubborn. She gets that from both sides of the family. I'm not sacrificing anything, she insists. I'm choosing this. There's a difference. She's started a blog about being a young caregiver. And it's gained a surprising following. Other 20-somethings dealing with sick or aging family members have found her words helpful. She writes honestly about the challenges, the resentments, the moments of grace, the exhaustion. One of her posts went viral. The sandwich generation is getting younger. She wrote about how her generation is increasingly facing caregiving responsibilities at an age when previous generations were focused solely on building careers and starting families. We're raising awareness, she told me. People need to know this isn't rare. Young caregivers exist, and we need support too. She's right, and I'm proud of her for using her experience to help others. Even as I wish she didn't have this experience to draw from. The first Thanksgiving after Mom's diagnosis was difficult. We tried to keep everything normal, but normal no longer existed. Mom couldn't follow the recipe for her famous stuffing that she'd been making for 40 years. She'd start, then forget what step came next, then get frustrated and angry. Let me help you, Mom, I offered. I've been making this stuffing since before you were born. I don't need help. But she did. So I stood beside her, gently guiding her through each step. Pretending I was the one who needed instruction. How much sage do we use again, Mom? It took twice as long as usual, and the stuffing wasn't quite right. She added salt 3 times. Forgetting each previous addition, but we did it together. At dinner, surrounded by all of us, Rachel and Michelle and their kids, James, Mark, Emma, Marcus. Mom looked around the table and said, "Isn't this wonderful? All my favorite people." She couldn't remember what year it was or what she'd eaten for breakfast. But she knew she was loved. In that moment, it was enough. Christmas was harder. Mom had always been the one who decorated, who orchestrated the gift exchanges, who made everything magical. This year, those responsibilities fell to the rest of us. We put up the tree together, pulling out ornaments Mom had collected over decades. Each one had a story, and Dad told them since Mom couldn't always remember. This one is from our honeymoon in San Francisco. You kids made this one in elementary school. Your mother bought this one the year Sarah was born. We cried more than we sang carols. We held each other more than we held presents. It was the saddest and somehow most meaningful Christmas we'd ever had. Mom fell asleep in her chair halfway through the evening, exhausted by the stimulation and excitement. We let her sleep, and the rest of us sat around talking quietly, sharing memories of Christmases past. Remember when Mom made that gingerbread house and it collapsed? Rachel said. Remember when she convinced us Santa was lactose intolerant, so we had to leave him almond milk? James added. Remember how she'd wake us up at 5 a.m. because she was too excited to wait? I contributed. We laughed and cried and remembered the woman she'd been, even as she slept peacefully in front of us, becoming someone different. By month 14, we had to face some hard truths. Mom could no longer be left alone. Even for an hour, even with all our safety modifications. The risk was too great. Dad was exhausted beyond measure and starting to have his own health issues: high blood pressure, stress-related stomach problems, insomnia. The house was becoming too much to manage. Too many stairs, too many rooms to monitor, too much space for Mom to wander and get lost. We had to start talking about alternatives. Not yet, Dad pleaded. Please, not yet. I promised her she could stay home. Dad, we're not talking about moving her tomorrow, James said gently. But we need to think about next steps. What if you get sick? What if something happens to you? Rachel pulled out information she'd gathered. There are memory care communities that are specifically designed for dementia patients. They're not like nursing homes. They're apartment-style living with 247 support, activities, socialization. Some of them are really nice. I'm not putting my wife in a facility, Dad said flatly. Then we need to bring in more help, I said. Full-time caregivers, around the clock. But Dad, that's $15,000 a month minimum. Your savings won't last long at that rate. The numbers were stark. If we hired full-time, live-in care, their savings would be depleted in 3 years. If Mom needed memory care for 5 years, the average stay, they'd need at least $420,000. They had maybe $300,000 in liquid assets after the house. We sell the house, Dad said. And where will you live? James asked. I'll live wherever Eleanor lives. We weren't ready to make any decisions yet, but the conversations had started. The planning was underway. I lay awake at night, running calculations, exploring options, trying to find a solution that kept both my parents safe and financially secure, while honoring Mom's dignity and Dad's promise. There were no good answers, only least worst options. Mom surprised us by maintaining her personality even as her memory faded. She was still stubborn, still opinionated, still capable of small rebellions. She refused to wear the clothes we'd laid out for her, insisting on combinations that made no sense, but made her happy: pajama bottoms with a formal blouse, summer dresses in winter, 3 cardigans at once. Let her, Patricia advised. Pick your battles. Who cares if her outfit doesn't match? She wouldn't eat vegetables but would happily consume ice cream for breakfast. Is this the hill you want to die on? Dr. Morrison asked when I brought it up in therapy. At this stage, if ice cream makes her happy, and she's getting some nutrition, does it really matter? She was right. We let Mom eat ice cream for breakfast. Mom started swearing, something she'd never done before. The grandkids found it hilarious when sweet, proper grandma would suddenly drop an F-bomb. When frustrated with a puzzle, the frontal lobe inhibitions are going drive. Chen explained. It's actually a good sign in a way. She's still expressing emotion, still engaged. The alternative is apathy, which can be harder to manage. These small rebellions became sources of unexpected joy. Mom was losing her memory, but finding a kind of freedom in the loss of social constraints. She said what she thought. She wore what she wanted. She lived entirely in the moment because the moment was all she reliably had. There was something almost zen about it. If I could look past the tragedy to see it. A year and a half in, I'd learned that dementia wasn't only loss. There were unexpected gifts too. Mom started playing piano again, something she hadn't done in 20 years. Her fingers remembered songs her mind couldn't name. She'd sit at the old upright in the living room and play hymns, show tunes. Classical pieces, her face peaceful and focused. Music, drive, Chen explained, is processed in different parts of the brain. Musical memory often persists long after other memories fade. We'd gather around and listen, marveling at this preserved skill, this window into who Mom had been and somehow still was. She also became intensely affectionate. The reserved, proper woman who'd always been a bit uncomfortable with physical displays of emotion now hugged constantly, held hands, kissed cheeks. I love you, she'd say a dozen times a day. Maybe she didn't always remember our names, but she knew she loved us. And there were flashes, brief, brilliant moments where the old Mom would fully emerge. One afternoon, I was reading her a news article about climate change. She listened quietly, and then said, with perfect clarity, "That's why Emma's work is so important. Her generation has to fix what we broke." I nearly dropped the paper. Mom? But the moment passed. Her eyes went vague again, and she asked me if I'd remembered to feed the cat. We hadn't had a cat in 15 years. But that moment, that flash of the mother I knew, aware and engaged. And thinking about her granddaughter's future, I'd hold on to that forever. As I write this, we're approaching the 2-year mark since that initial diagnosis. Mom is 77 now, and the decline is evident. She needs help with most activities of daily living: dressing, bathing, eating. She sleeps a lot. She rarely initiates conversation anymore, though she'll respond when we talk to her. She doesn't remember my name most days. I'm sweetheart, or honey, or the nice lady who visits. But when I hold her hand, she squeezes back. When I tell her I love her, she says it back. When we sit together in comfortable silence, I can feel her presence, even if she can't articulate it. Dad is still holding on, still caring for her at home with our help. But we all know the day is coming when that won't be possible anymore. We've toured memory care facilities, just looking, we told Dad. Though we all know what we're preparing for. Some were depressing institutions that smelled of industrial cleaner and resignation. But we found one Meadowbrook memory care that felt different. Smaller, home-like, with staff who actually seemed to care. Individual rooms that families could personalize. A secure garden where residents could wander safely. Activity programs designed for different stages of dementia. When the time comes, Dad finally admitted, maybe this place. The waiting list is 18 months long. James got Mom's name on it. We hope we won't need it for a while. But we're ready. Meanwhile, we continue. We show up. We love her. We adapt to each new loss, each new challenge. I've learned things I never wanted to know about catheters, adult diapers, feeding difficulties. Fall prevention, medication side effects. I've also learned things about myself. I'm proud of that. I'm stronger than I thought, more patient. More capable of sitting with difficulty without trying to fix it. I've learned that love isn't always joyful. Sometimes love is showing up even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. I've learned that family isn't about being perfect. It's about being present. I've learned that endings can be gradual, that you can lose someone in inches and increments. And that somehow makes it both easier and harder. What will I remember when this is over? When Mom is gone, and the crisis has passed and life returns to some new version of normal? I'll remember the last lucid conversation we had, when she told me she was proud of me. I'll remember watching her paint. Completely absorbed, free from the confusion that plagued her other hours. I'll remember Christmas 2 years ago, all of us gathered around her. Knowing it might be our last good holiday together. I'll remember Dad's devotion, never wavering, even when it cost him everything. I'll remember Emma's sacrifice, choosing love over freedom. I'll remember James flying across the country every 6 weeks because family matters. I'll remember Rachel coordinating care with medical precision and sisterly tenderness. I'll remember Patricia's patience, teaching us how to enter Mom's reality instead of forcing her into ours. I'll remember the support group, the friends, the neighbors, the community that held us up when we couldn't stand on our own. And I'll remember this, that my mother, even in her broken state, even without memory or full cognition, was still worthy of love, dignity, and respect. That she was still a person, still valuable, still deserving of our best efforts. Dementia is cruel. It steals and destroys. But it doesn't erase love. It can't take away the fact that Eleanor Mitchell was an incredible woman who lived a good life. Raised 3 children who adored her. And faced her final challenge with all the grace she could muster. When people ask me about caring for my mother with dementia, they usually expect horror stories. And yes, there are hard days. Terrible days. Days when I cry in my car before going home. Because I need to fall apart somewhere my family can't see. But there are also days of unexpected beauty. Days when I see humanity at its most vulnerable and most resilient. Days when I understand what it really means to love someone. This isn't the ending I would have written for my mother's story. But it's the ending we got. And we're facing it together, with all the courage, stubbornness, and love the Mitchell family can bring to bear. That credit card bill that started this journey seems like a lifetime ago. In a way, I'm grateful for it. It was the warning bell, the alarm that woke us up to what was happening. Without it, we might have lost precious time. Now, we use the time we have. We don't waste it. We show up. We love fiercely. We make memories even though Mom won't remember them, because we will. And when the end comes, whenever that is, we'll know we did right by her. We didn't abandon her. We didn't warehouse her. We loved her through the hardest thing that ever happened to our family. That's the Mitchell way. That's what family means. That's what love requires. And we wouldn't have it any other way.